Okay, people. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome again. So before I get going, first I must know if let's say, let me use a traditional word, if the sculling of the advanced computing 2 class was worth your presentation. Did you guys have a good presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it was worth it then. My sacrifice was worth it. That's what you're saying.
Sacrifice never ends.
Okay, guys. All right. Okay, so today we have we're pushing forward. We are nearing pretty much the end of the semester. So we're moving to the final project. By the way, did you guys receive a 3D model of downtown?
Sir, come again?
Did you guys receive a 3D model of downtown?
From you, sir?
No, not from me, but I'm not sure. I think it's a part of your studio project.
Oh, yes, sir. We did one last year.
Okay, because I'm trying to see the best way that I can tie in computing into design studio. So I need somebody to send me the downtown model that you guys are using for your final project.
Wait, this year we're using Montego Bay.
Oh, it's Montego Bay.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Okay. So, but did you guys receive a model of Montego Bay?
Yes, sir. We did one. Worked on one over the period while we were schooling the class.
Okay. Hold on. I mean a virtual model.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
A huge one.
Oh, nice. All right. I want you to send that to me. What kind of format? What did you create it in?
Revit 2021.
2021. Oh man.
Yes, sir.
Why did you have to use 2021? Why couldn't you just use 2020? Oh boy. Oh boy. Now I have to go upgrade. Anyway. So you did an entire city model in Revit? Interesting.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Collaboration.
You guys actually use the collab tool?
Yes, sir.
What? Oh my goodness. I feel like I could give you guys a prize.
Yes, sir. Give us some free grade.
Second that.
All right. Okay, what I'll do is send me a copy of that model and to let me see how best if we can use it with the final project. No promises. It does depend.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right. So in the meantime, as we near the end of the semester, I'm pretty much now going to be preparing you guys for that final movie, right? Which is a good movie. And you know, the good thing about movies normally base their successes based on the box office. You know, how much people went to the theater to watch that movie. So you guys are definitely going to have some people coming to our theater to watch your movie when you create it, right? So we're working out who the guests are. We have one so far. And pretty much your grade is made up of, well, in a major way of your lecturer, but in a tiny way on the persons who came to see the movie, right? we usually try to get somebody from different industries. So somebody from the architecture side of things and somebody from the animation or the movie or the media side of things, right? All right. Now, by the way, did you guys get an email from me regarding some updates for the course, for the module? No? Sound like everybody just rushed to their email now to check.
Yeah, we did.
Ah, okay. So you should have gotten an email that the assignment 3 and 4 are open for submissions. 3 is supposed to be long done already, so you just submit. 4, we're supposed to be in the middle of doing 4, right? And then that is it for assignment, so that I can mark and give you your course grade or your assignment grades, right? Then all that would be left is the final project. Now, in that same email, I mentioned why this week was so critical. I know that group work is a dreaded term, right? For a few of us, it's a celebrated term if we get to work with with group members that are good. But I know that it is tricky to work in groups. Nevertheless, the final project will be a group effort. Now, how we determine the groups is going to be a little different than what you're probably used to. And it's going to be based on a role-based system, right? Now, over the next 2 or so weeks, we are going to be you guys are going to be exploring or considering what role best suits your skills so that you can more effectively group yourselves in effective groups. All right. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's take a look. Now, we're going to go a little bit into what we call the 3D production pipeline. And this is going to be a focus on architectural visualization, right? 3D is a big word. You have 3D glasses, you have 3D movies, you have 3D games. So when you talk about 3D production pipeline, you could be talking about anything. Or you build a game, or you build a movie. So we're going to be focusing it primarily in the architectural industry. Because as you know, visualization has become a big part of the industry. All right. Okay. So we're going to kick things off with a little movie. Is everybody here? Is everybody hearing me okay? Let me do a sound check to see if everybody is hearing my sound. Come on, computer. There we go. Show presenter view. All right, now is everybody hearing sound?
Sound from you.
You didn't hear the sound?
Sir, I heard that you played something just now.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so I'm going to show you a production that we did not too long ago. Well, long-ish, but not too long. I don't know if we'll play through all of it. But nowadays, the work that is produced from the architectural firm is pretty much married to the work that is used to market the project, right? The client have to find a lot of money to build this project and to pay the architect. So naturally the client wants to maximize as much as possible on those to get back a return on their investment. And a good way to do that is to market. And once you talk about market, you're talking about visuals, right? So I want to just give you a preview of this one. This one was a project in, well, this is in Jamaica. I know that not all of us are in the island. Maybe some of us are not. And in particular in Kingston. So we looked at a production a couple of weeks ago, which was the Houses of Parliament, but this is another type of production. So let's look at this one. And then we'll talk.
Just when you thought life couldn't get any better, the perfect location, combining convenience and elegance. You can relax and enjoy the perfect blend of city life and sophisticated living and immerse yourself in the breathtaking views of lush mountains, cityscapes, and Kingston's beautiful harbor. Welcome home to the Cambridge. As part of the Vale Royal lands, the Cambridge Luxury Apartments are strategically located in one of Kingston's prime residential communities, adjacent to the Golden Triangle. The Cambridge is designed with 176 spacious units over 2 sleek towers, the Cambridge Edge and the Cambridge Elite. Within walking distance of the New Kingston Business District, the Cambridge Luxury Apartments offers convenient access to exquisite dining, shopping, and entertainment. The choice is yours. The Cambridge offers superb options for living, 24-hour security, elevators, coded main entry, backup water supply, water heaters, generous parking, standby generators, gym and clubhouse, swimming pool, and other features that provide convenience and comfort. Your super studio awaits. This elegant compact unit is uniquely designed for singles or couples. The super studio provides flexibility and comfort. The durable countertops in the kitchen creates a welcome contrast, tastefully setting it apart from the living and dining areas. The bedroom is light and airy, offering both privacy and easy access to adjoining areas. If more privacy is what you desire, your Cambridge 1-bedroom, 2 full bathroom unit is just the right fit with its spacious kitchen, living and dining, designed with extraordinary comfort and style. The carefully chosen fixtures add sophistication to the modern open-plan design. If your dream is for space to entertain, relax, and enjoy the safety of a highly residential area, close to restaurants and entertainment, then the Cambridge 1-bedroom, 2 full bathroom unit is just for you. Your bedroom with walk-in closet and ensuite bathroom provides the ideal oasis you will want to come home to. Stretch out and enjoy all the amenities of your luxurious Cambridge 2-bedroom. This penthouse comes complete with 2 full bathrooms, the sophisticated finishes and fixtures in the kitchen, ample dining and living areas add to your comfort and style. Drink in the spectacular city view from your private terrace. And if that's not enough, this spacious unit, customized to suit your personal taste, allows you to enjoy your privacy. We know that as a Cambridge homeowner, you are special. And so we have anticipated your every need. Kingston's most unique apartment complex boasts a super studio for your guests' overnight stay. Convenient and affordable, your guest studio is only a booking away. At the Cambridge, live easy. Guardian Life is planning ahead for your investment to soar by continuing to develop the surrounding properties. Now that's what I call value added. The Cambridge. City living at its best.
All right. So that was a little long. So that is one type of production. So and that was done well in collaboration with an architectural firm, but working with a lot of you guys who work in those kind of firms. Now, now one of the reasons why I want to show you this is in order to produce or to show visualization of architecture, it's a little more than just maybe rendering out a video at Twinmotion or Lumion or whichever one you want to use, right? A couple of things to notice. So in this video, well, firstly, notice that there is audio, and there's different types of audio. There's the narration, there's the music, and were there sound effects? I don't remember if there were sound effects. Maybe not. Now for the animation, the animation was specific to the audio as well, right? Everybody notice that?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, this type of production is a little bit, what do you call it now? Straightforward and a bit pragmatic, right? Now I want to show you another type of presentation. Another type of architectural visualization. I think I had removed it from the slide. Give me one moment. Let me locate where I had put it. Oh. Hmm. Okay. I think I removed it from this presentation. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right. So I want you to take a look on this other type of architectural visualization. Okay. I'm not sure, I might have accidentally deleted it. That's why. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so check out this one. All right, I want you guys to watch closely. Okay, let's go again. All right. Okay, so what do you guys think of that one?
So it's body.
Interactive.
Yeah.
So,
I
hold
like
it.
that, sir. I like that. Love that, sir.
All I know, I want to smile just like
Yes.
this when I finish present my work for final year. Right? So
Now, how did these two presentations differ?
There's a
The
C and one is a
second
B.
one, the sound effects was very dramatic compared to the first one. Felt more
Well-
like a movie trailer.
All right. So I want you to notice the difference clearly. It is, I noticed somebody say one is a C and one is a A. I mean, it's not so much that one is better than the other, you know. But there are two very different ways of communicating an idea. You get me? Now, maybe if you were going to a studio presentation, or maybe a presentation with people who want to know information, you know, maybe it's the bank, or maybe it could be engineers, or it could be people who are interested in investing in a particular project in some way, then they might want to see more than a movie trailer. But then if you're going to pitch an idea and you only have a couple of minutes to do it, right? Suppose, you know, it's a case where people are not on board with something, and you target a particular group or a particular company or a person that you want to be on board. So maybe you don't want to go in detail with them. The one bedroom features da 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 da. No, maybe you want to say movie trailer. You know, you want to say Avengers Part 6. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to communicate to you here is that these are two very different styles of doing visualization. And it's not that one is better than the other, but you have to know when to use what style. Now, there is a third style, but I'm going to save that one for a little later, right? I'm saving it for later because that's maybe the closer style that you guys will use to do your final project, right? But what I want to get across to you guys is that whether you want to do a pragmatic approach, which was the first presentation, or you want to do a movie trailer, hype train, get you excited approach, which was the second one, or you have a third one that is more figurative. It's about something that is not necessarily real, right? You could maybe be communicating a particular point, or you want to communicate a concept. So think about it. I mean, you know, in architecture, it's not necessarily just about the building. You know, suppose you're talking about the emotions of people, and you need to do a visual, some kind of presentation that is speaking to how buildings affect the emotions of people. It might be a very different approach. It might not be pragmatic, where you're talking about, you know, size of bedrooms, but it might not be movie trailer where you know, it's like a Marvel movie. It might be somewhere that's different. Now, the point that I'm getting at is that all of this falls under the production process, right? And there is a certain way to do these kinds of production, right? It's not necessarily just to render out a video out of your favorite rendering program. In any industry, especially learning from the movie industry, this process is broken down into 3 steps, right? And it's called the production pipeline. More specifically, I want to focus on the 3D production pipeline, right? Now, some firms that you may work, let's just assume it's an architectural firm. They may do their production pipeline in-house, right? Where other firms might subcontract that work out to other people and then say, hey, Enato, I want you to work with ABC consultancy to produce this presentation, right? Let me ask. All right, you guys following me?
Yes, sir.
Or it might be that you work at that ABC, you know, consultancy place that is working with a firm to do a particular thing, right? For example, I know a lot of past students that I collaborate with on projects, and they might be working at another firm, but they have skills, maybe photography skills, videography skills, 3D rendering skills, and they may be, to make an extra money, they might work on these other projects, which only in the long run better their skills in what they're doing. So whatever it is, whether you're working within the office or with persons, working to visualize something, there, especially when it's moving pictures, right? You're going to be looking at this 3-pronged production pipeline setup where you have pre-production, production, and post-production. Now, here's the important part for you guys to realize. Not everyone has necessarily all of these skill sets. Think about in architecture, we have design. Some people are really good with coming up with some awesome designs, but they can't use the computer to save them life. Right? Anybody here fall in that category? You don't have to raise your hands. On the flip side, you might have persons who know everything about the program, but the design, you know, not really up to scratch. And then you have the persons that are average, or maybe the persons that's just good at everything, right? So I'm just saying that to say that this is why group work is so important. This is why a company has multiple people. At the end of the day, one person just cannot do everything, right? So whether it's a firm or it's a group classwork, the point is that if you play to each other's strengths, then you should be successful, right? So the important part to remember from this is that you guys need to start identifying from a broad point of view, as it relates to visualization, what area do I best fall in? You know, is it that I'm better with pre-production, where it's more of a group leadership effort, identifying where skill sets are and guiding the overall process of producing some kind of visualization, right? Is it in production? These are people who are pressing the buttons and creating models and adding effects and animating cars and animating people. Or is it post-production? These are the persons that polish the video. They get all the clips and they put it together and they add sound effects and they go out and capture footage. Some of them fly drones to capture nice aerial photography of architecture. Some of them are good at taking photography pictures. So all of these things come together to give you the production pipeline. And usually to do any significant production, I mean, not just a simple 360 view of a building and done, but I'm like one of those presentations that we watch. It requires the combination of these three areas, right? And that is what I want you guys to have in the back of your head, right? Even though you're in maybe an architectural firm, which is not a industry that makes movies, but nowadays we do kind of make movies. As a matter of fact, in some cases we kind of even make games too, because when you use programs like ArchiCAD, anybody ever use what's that program in ArchiCAD that's called when you can send the app to the phone? You can send your design to the phone. Anybody knows of that? Any ArchiCAD users in the house?
I use ArchiCAD, sir, but I've never used that particular one.
I think it's
BIMX or something like
yes,
that.
I believe it's BIMX, which is free with ArchiCAD, where you can export your ArchiCAD model, and the person who is viewing the model, they can use their phone or their tablet and just navigate through it like, you know, Call of Duty or whatever, like a game. Or they can orbit the model on their phones. They don't need the application. You know, so in a way, architecture is even taking a bite of interactivity as well, right? So, you know, in the movie, in the video production world, this is how they produce their videos. They divide them into these categories. So if you guys have to do a significant presentation, like I remember some of my friends who I graduated with when the Houses of Parliament competition was going on, a lot of the things that we talk about here, they had to be applying. Some of them work with external studios that had to go out and take footage. And some of them just built everything in-house. But at the end of the day, they had to do pre-production, pre-production, production, and post-production. Right? Okay, so what I want to do is kind of break this down, because remember, when you go into your groups are going to be based on your role, right? And you want to select a role that best resonates with you. Now, so far, we have been kind of exploring the production and post-production role a little bit. For those of you who did assignment 3 already, you're starting to explore a little bit of what it means to do post-production, adding things like titles, text, sound, putting video clips together so that it reads a particular way, transitioning. All of these things are post-production traits. Now, for those of you who start assignment 4, you're going to start to explore things that happen in the production line now. You have to be, we looked at some of that last class where we talk about the principles of animation. So, you know, you guys are considering, you know, in the 3D scene, right? I want to have a camera view that shows the building a way. It's very cinematic. I need to manage how this car drives across this screen, how this person walks into this building. You know, I see a lot of Michael Jackson's in Lumion animations, a whole lot. Anybody know what I mean by that? Anybody? No? No, so none of you are guilty of putting walking people in animation that's really not moving. They're just walking on spot.
Oh, yes, sir. Constantly.
Right? So your production persons are responsible for the technical aspects, right? Right? In our final movie, what I love about Advanced Computing 2, it is not a pragmatic movie that you're creating, meaning it's not about saying this building is X amount of square foot, it has 3 rooms and blah, blah, blah. It's not a pragmatic approach. At the same time, it's not a movie trailer approach either, but it has little tidbits of each of those traits, right? Including the 3rd trait where we talk about conceptual stuff. Now, those 2 videos that we watch are kind of based in, well, that last one is a little bit imaginative, which is good. So that is where I would want you guys to stretch your skills a bit in imagination, right? So now planning the movie, right? I don't know if anybody watch what was a horrible movie? Okay, anybody here watch Airbender, the cartoon? I think it comes on what, Nickelodeon? I mean, it's finished by now, it's a little old. Anybody know of that animated series?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Last Airbender, sorry. Right. And they made a movie of it. Anybody watch the movie?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
No, sir. I heard about it, but I specifically chose not to watch it.
Good choice. Because
it's awful.
Exactly. Now, the actors that are in that show are not the ones that, well, are blamed necessarily. Who is blamed? Who is blamed for the awfulness of that show?
Was it the visual effects team?
No, not necessarily. The visual effects were actually impressive.
Or the directors?
Exactly.
No, lie that.
Well, okay, all right. I mean, maybe not by today's standards, but I would accept the visual
producers and producers and those in charge of selecting the actors and who wrote the storyline and that kind of thing.
So the pre-production team, then.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm glad you said that because that's what I'm hitting on. No, I would have gladly loved the effects, even if it was kind of not, top-notch effects. But the essence of the story, the essence of The Last Airbender, which is beautifully captured in the animated series, that same essence was just missing totally. Right? Not to mention that I think the guy was Ong and not Ang or something like that, some weird name. But I'm just saying, it's not one particular thing that made most people didn't like it. It was just that they kind of missed the point a little bit, which happens with a lot of movies, but that's the first one that came to mind. Now, the person that is responsible for hitting the nail on the head, capturing the essence of what you're trying to show is pre-production, right? And pre-production ideally should not really get mixed up in the technicalities too much or the post-production, because capturing the essence of a story is so important. So for example, in the second one that we watched, where, you know, it was a bit imaginative, where, you know, it's like they're showing how this building is going to be remodeled, you know, but it is told through the eyes of a worker that suddenly saw the building coming apart and the building came together and he's all in his suit and tie and having a great day with a new office. So the story is told in that way. Now, I mean, yes, the production team did a great job and the post-production with the audio did a great job, but the story, like that conceptual story, that is really what made that animation really good. So just like how Airbender, you can have the greatest team and the best actors, but if the direction of the story misses the point, then the whole thing is ruined. So that is your pre-production. Notice these little stick figures in the pre-production is talking about idea, storyboard, because it's all about conveying the essence of a story to the rest of team members so that they execute well. So, you know, it's big shoes to fill, but, you know, it's always a little tricky when we get to this part of the semester and persons must kind of decide what role suits them best. Because some person would look at the pre-production person and say, hey, but these guys are just planning. I mean, their work comes early on, coming up with the story and making sure that the story goes according to plan. But if the story fails, it's their fault. You know, so risk reward, right? The post-production person is responsible to execute. So maybe if you look back at this movie that we saw, right? And we look at some of the side effects. So for example, we have this part here where the windows are flying off of the wall, right? I mean, that's a straight up production, right? If somebody is good with animation or animating and, you know, like that is what they would do. Now they are making the windows fly off the walls because they're going according to the plan that is set out by the pre-production team, right? Now, in this case, post-production now went a little bit over the top because they actually got an actor. And these actors in this scenario, they're actually real people, but they basically act in front of a green screen and then they're positioned in the scene, right? So, I mean, you're talking like, so post-production now has to, you know, like source the actor and make sure that they do the lines. In this case, they didn't really talk. They just kind of look a particular way, right? And that kind of thing. Now, I mean, granted, this is a higher production kind of work, right? So we're not necessarily talking on this level, but this just gives you an idea of how the three roles come together. Now, if you look at the first movie, right? And though the first movie didn't have explosions and all of that thing, it was very
Cityscapes
in its
the apartments offers convenient access.
And maybe this is the kind of thing that you would show to people who are maybe thinking about purchasing a unit. They want to see what the unit looks like. They want to see what amenities are there. It takes a little bit more time to flesh out this detail. So the production persons in this kind of video would be responsible for capturing the right footage, because they notice that when the narrator speaks about a certain thing, there needs to be a footage that goes with what they're saying. Did everybody see that in this example? Guys, you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then now the post-production persons now are responsible to get all of these clips and make sure that it is in alignment with the audio. Right? So these are how these three roles work together, right? Now, in this case, instead of the post-production team, make windows flying off of walls, they're doing other things like, choosing the right camera angles to best capture the essence of the space. They might be actually working in the 3D scene to make sure that the chairs and the tables and all these objects are lined up nicely and all of that stuff. So that is the work of the production team. So one would think that, okay, boy, these production persons work hard, but the truth is that they are very specific. If I'm working as a production member and you say, I need 3 shots of the bedroom, then I'm going to give 3 shots of the bedroom. That's it, my job done. It is up to the post-production to now make sure those 3 shots is in alignment with the audio and with everything else. Okay, so I'm just saying this so that you guys know how these roles work together, because that's going to be important for even how you're graded in the final project. All right. Okay, so a good story starts from a good idea or concept. An idea is like an egg unhatched or a seedling, right? It has so much potential, but only if executed properly. An idea originates from a melting pot of our thoughts, emotion, experiences, and dreams. So right away, I mean, you guys have gone through 4 years now of college, so you know if you're an idea person, right? An idea person, when they stare on the blank canvas, there's his thoughts going by and they're just trying to grab one. Whereas some of us, when we stare at a blank canvas, we might get really scared. Say, oh my God, I have no idea for this project that I'm supposed to design, So right away, pre-production, one of the traits is being an idea person. Now, some of these things you have to have going through any architecture school. Everybody is an idea person. It's just that some are more than others, right? So having a healthy idea generating mind requires saving records for everything you experience, right? Some of you, when you go to your study tour, you see something, you say, oh, that's so great. Take a picture, sketch it. Some of you might see something funny or interesting, same time you whip out your phone and document it, right? So these are all traits of persons with idea. The more things you experience is the more thoughts you have to pull from, right? I remember one of my idea friends, we used to tease him. It was a him. He had to work and go to school. So some classes he would miss. But the kind of work that he did was literally watching servers, right? Like he was like a maintenance person for servers. And that's what he used to pay himself through school, right? But he spent hours looking at lights flashing, but he had the internet where he was. So whenever we had work to research, we always give it to him because he's stuck in front of a computer for hours on end, and he could just browse the internet on and on and on. So every time we're in a group and we're coming up with ideas, he would have the craziest ideas because he literally lives on the internet because it's a part of his job. So, the more things you experience, the more ideas you will have, right? Now, the pre-production person also has to do storyboards as well. They have to find the best way to convey their ideas. Now, the storyboard is the first part of, it's going to be like the first submission for your final project. It's basically divided into 2 parts, right? So you need to come up with the idea and you may submit a storyboard. The storyboard is confirmation that this is the idea you're going with. You can't switch. You have You have signed and sealed that this is my story. So the pre-production persons are responsible for coming up with the story, conveying the story, make sure that the story meets all the criteria. Well, in this case. So case in point, when we were watching that video earlier, like, let's say that it's this video that was speaking about the different spaces. The pre-production has to decide on, okay, how many spaces are we going to showcase, right? We have 4 different units. So we're only going to show 1 bedroom and call it typical bedroom. We're going to show, you know, the living area of the 3 unit types. You know, all these decisions on what to show to best convey the idea is done by pre-production, right? At the end of the day, when you watch this video, you are supposed to be informed based on the objective the video said intends to achieve. So for example, this video is shown to potential people who have the potential to purchase. They have the money they want to purchase, but they need to know more about the project. They don't have the time to like have a meeting. So they need a video that conveys to them exactly what they need to know. So you guys tell me, if you guys are thinking of purchasing one of these units, do you think this video would convey that for you guys?
Yes, sir.
I would, well, for me, not necessarily. I would still like want to see it in person, but I'm saying that from the perspective of someone who knows how rendering software is and how you can add extra things to make it look fancy and stuff like that.
Right, but even if you're that person, whenever you guys get to the stage when you are looking to rent or buy, it's like there are certain things in your mind that you're going to look for by default, right? Who knows? Maybe by then you guys are married, maybe with children, who knows, or maybe before. But usually whoever is looking for a place, you know, there are certain, just like you're looking for a car, you know, there might be certain things that you're looking for. So those are the things that the pre-production person have to make sure that are in this production, right? And it is different for every use case. Now, another use of pre-production is, for example, when you guys have to do presentations. When I just left undergrad and I went to work in a firm, yes, I did some drawings, but because of my skill set, I normally end up planning presentations, right? So in a presentation, in a studio presentation, you know, you have 5 minutes. You can't cover everything in 5 minutes. What are the key things to cover? So this is pre-production in practice. You guys have been doing this for a while. So, you know, what things do I leave out? What things do I include? Then you might be having a meeting with an engineer, right? Especially for those of you who decide to go continue to masters, and they have some studio sessions where you meet specifically with an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer. You know, you only have 5 minutes with him. You know, what are the things that you need to push forward? So all this is pre-production in practice. So it's not just about video, but it's kind of this skill of picking out the most important points, all right? Okay, so moving on. Now, so one of the things that the pre-production person does, they need to do the storyboard, they need to convey the story. They don't design the story, but they channel the thoughts of everybody in the team and make sure that the story is on track. So for example, if we're telling a story about this new building that's going to go up, and we're all taking ideas and we say, okay, we can have this in that building. And then somebody jumps up and say, okay, how about we have, you know, Godzilla comes down from the heavens and crush the building. The pre-production might say, well, okay, I don't think that idea will go good with the story, right? So the pre-production keeps everybody on track, right? But they need to hear all the ideas, all right? They filter those ideas down into a storyboard, and this storyboard is the roadmap to produce the final video, right? Now we actually have a lecture on storyboard, which we don't do yet, so that is coming up. So I'm not going to dive too deep on storyboard. Now, one of the final things that the pre-production person might do is they do what's called an animatic. And this is something that you might find in maybe more in film school or art school. So, you know, in architecture, we have a version of it. It might not be exactly what they do in film school, right? Now we're going to look more on this when we actually go into storyboarding, which is our next topic that we're going to go into. So, and I'm going to spend much time on this, and right, and I don't want to extend this longer than necessary. In a nutshell, what it is of what the story is in a full sequence. So, for example, think of it as a slideshow of your storyboard. So when you guys come up with your story, you think it up in your head and say, okay, this is going to be my final project story. You need to confirm that on paper or sketch, you know, you went sketch it out on a storyboard. But then you need to tell me about it, right? You need to explain to me what the storyboard is about. So the way how you do that, you're going to have to present your storyboard to me. And that's essentially what an animatic is. In architecture, you know, we don't have to dive too deep in it, but think about when persons are making full featured films, you know, they have to really invest in the animatic. For example, when they're creating, let's say like a Disney 3D Pixar movie, right? To render out all of those movies takes hours and tons of electricity and computers. So before they actually do that, they render like this very, you know, low detail, just boxes and stickmen version. That is what the animatic is. All right, everybody follow it? All right, great. So pretty much that is pre-production. Now, once we go into production, this is another area that pretty much everybody has practiced in. From second year, we have been teaching you production skills as it relates to 3D visualization, right? You learn about Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, you learn about BIM. All of these things is production, right? Everybody that leaves architecture school can produce some kind of digital work. If you're doing your drawings, working drawings, you know, that is your knee deep or neck deep in production, right? For presentations, production means, you know, you are editing, you are creating stuff in 3D, you're doing stuff in Revit, you're manipulating the technical aspects of things, right? So in production, we kind of break it down into these different areas. So for example, notice we have layout, and this is, remember, we're talking about 3D here, right? So we're not talking necessarily about film or video games or even working drawing production. We're kind of sticking with 3D visualization, right? So you have different things. You have a layout person, a R&D. Anybody know what R&D means?
Research,
No,
research and
sir.
development. Research and development.
Exactly. I wonder if you figure it out or you just Googled it quickly.
No, I know.
All right, good job. Good job. Congratulations on that. So yes, research and development, modeling, texturing, rigging, animation, visual effects, lighting, and rendering. These are all typical things that somebody who is in the production environment in a 3D visualization production environment would need to do. So layout, where do you position things? Oops. Oh, I thought these were videos. Of course they are. Okay, yeah. Where do you position things? Do you, if you have, for example, a dining table and there's a view of the dining table, you need to lay out literally the table. You need to put vases. You need to put trees in particular areas. It's laying out the scene essentially, right? So that is a skill that somebody who is on production needs to have. Research and development. All right, so there are many programs out there. As a matter of fact, most times when persons do the final project, a lot of things can't be done in Revit only or Twinmotion only, right? I remember one year they needed to, a key part of the story was a bird, and they had to animate a bird flapping their wings because that was a key part of the story, right? So, what program was best to do that? You know what I mean? You guys already learned this already because you did, remember in advanced computing 1 when you guys had to achieve a goal and you had to hopscotch between multiple programs, So research and development is a part of what the production team do, right? When pre-production say, hey, we want to have this building explode, then production have to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to do that? Are we going to use Lumion or Max, or how are we going to make a building explode? Might be something much simpler, like, we want the door to open. I remember one animation we did one time in the architectural presentation. They wanted to highlight, it was a smart building. So they wanted to highlight how the smart system worked. So in that animation, they wanted to show that you press something on your phone and the door open. And then that same phone is used to like turn on the light switches and all that in the house. But that was tied into how the house is designed. So they wanted to show all of that in the animation. So the production person would be like, okay, how am I going to do that? In Twinmotion, can I show somebody holding a phone? How am I going to get somebody holding a phone in the animation? So those questions or that research is what the production person would do. I should ask, anybody have any questions thus far?
No, sir. Good so far.
Good so far? Okay. All right. Okay, so usually persons who choose the production roles are persons that are technically good. They're kind of good with manipulating things in 3D, right? They normally pick up on certain terminologies really quickly, especially technical terminologies, and so forth. Okay. So for example, this is the production process. I don't remember what I was doing here. I created this so long ago, but this is modeling something. And some of us might be good at modeling something. You guys did 3D modeling in third year, right? In second year, second semester, right? So, no, third year, first semester. So you know how to model stuff in
Sir, you can
Yeah.
turn down the music a little.
Oh, it's still playing? I'm sorry. I thought I turned it off.
No, no man, the music for this video.
Oh, my bad. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right. So what I was saying is that so this is what you would really see a person who knows how to model what they be doing. No, it's not just modeling is involved in production, but in 3D visualization, like a big part of it is modeling. Some of it is downloading the right models from the right places. You know, some of you might have archives of assets, you know, because you are more technically inclined. So you have all of these models of people and cars and trees and stuff like that. So if you are a person that has those kind of things, then you know that is the kind of role that you would consider more being playing, right? Okay. Now the last part of the production role is actually producing the clips, right? So the post-production might say, hey, I need 4 clips of this room. Then it's up to the production person to create it, right? Now, your job ends when you have produced those clips, right? You don't need to video edit those clips. You don't need to like put them together in a movie or add sound effects to them. No, you're just producing the clips. So on one end, I always hear the argue that, boy, production groups seem to do more work. But then their job is to just produce something very specific. After that, your job is done, your grade is collected. Remember, there are different roles for this particular exercise. Now, this part, which involves, let me kind of zoom in here. So we're talking about rigging, animation, visual effects, lighting. You know, I don't necessarily must include that. You know, I remember one year they needed a building to be destroyed because the story was something about the destruction of architecture and how something new comes from the destruction every time. So they needed to like crumble a building, and the production team had to figure out how to do that. So, you know, it had a little bit to do with rigging and stuff. But I'm usually here to help with that and to provide a lot of assets with doing that. Lighting, visual effects like explosions. One time when it was Corona, one of the stories involved about how Corona affect something like people and buildings and stuff like that. And they needed like what was it again? I don't remember. Oh right, so I think they were showing like a post-apocalyptic Kingston if we don't follow the whatever the restrictions or whatever. But anyway, the story was along that line. So they needed to show the buildings looking very old and dilapidated to be a part of their architectural story. So that's a part of visual effects. You know, how do we get the wood to not look like new wood, but very dried up wood? You know, so to achieve some of those things, research had to be done and modeling and all of that stuff. So if those kind of things excite you and that's the kind of stuff that you like to do, then the role of production is for you, right? Okay. Any questions on production?
No, sir.
Okay. Oh, what you're seeing now is actually, this was the final. All right. If you look back on this slide, which slide was it? All right. This part of production was, you know, when they were doing the layout. So this red clay looking scene that you're seeing here is actually just positioning the different elements. And then they had to figure out how to make it move. This was actually an advert that we made a couple years ago for I think for ourselves actually. So we're advertising how you can use 3D to explore different arrangements in a room and blah blah blah. So, and this was the final output. And for the production side of things, notice these things kind of drop from the ceiling. Notice they kind of drop and have a little bounce to it, like, you know, very realistic. What do you call it? Physically realistic, meaning it has a bit of physics to it and stuff like that. So that was a part of what had to be done in production. All right, now the text and the video and the text and the music and putting the clips together and all of that stuff happens in post-production, right? Now, I showed that already, did I? Oh, okay, hold on, there's another video here. All right, so this one was also interesting. This was a long time movie as well, but in this particular movie, the client wanted to experience the building from driving up. This building is actually up already. This is Brampton's. But they wanted to show what it's like to actually arrive from driving all the way from underneath the building all the way to their individual. Right? So this was another interesting project because they wanted to highlight that. Most of the clientele, I believe, were concerned because there's like no of the lot. So everything, you know, because they don't have any, they're using 100% of the lot pretty much. They wanted to show person or purpose apartments what it would look like, you know, an approach to the apartment and an approach to your room. Yeah. All right. Any questions? Any questions? All right. Now for post-production. Now, post-production, this team is what I call it's the emotional heartstring tugging team. Why do I call this team that? Now you guys watch the when you guys watch that that second video at the beginning of this presentation, a lot of you might gotten excited at that second video, right? Because it kind of felt like a trailer, right? Cool. Now, what's really going on there is that the story that is being presented to you in combination with all of the supporting factors, the music and what you're seeing on screen, right? This symphony of visualization that is being presented to you is like triggering something in your mind. It's like the endorphins in your mind to get really excited, right? And this is the world in which the post-production persons are living. You know, the pre-production has the idea, but the post-production has to let the feeling come through, right? The production persons, you know, are not really about feeling. They're trying to achieve something specific. You know, I want this building to crumble. I want this chair to fall from the sky. They are focused on those individual tasks. But the post-production now needs to let what is shown feel exciting, right? I still, though this is probably not the newest product, I still love, this is one of my favorite product advertisements ever made. Let's take a look on this video. Will it show the entire thing? No, it's too zoomed in actually. Zoom out a little bit. Well, actually, no, it's not this one. But anyway, this is another example. That one is coming up. But this one here, oh, this was a project that I worked on in the past. I want to show you some stuff that's post-production.
Kingston Wharves has been connecting communities and markets for almost 70 years. We have diversified our operations during this time, and today offer a wide range of services from prime property in Newport West. Our current footprint includes 9 deep-water berths ranging with a maximum draft of 13 meters, domestic and transshipment car parks, on-dock warehouses with more than 200,000 square feet in combined space, 2.6.
All right, so I'm going to kind of turn this down a little bit here. Now, this is the important thing about post-production, right? And this is a little bit extreme example, right? Apart from tugging on your heartstrings and making you excited about something, post-production helps with the communication of particular points. So for example, in this presentation here, there's a lot of things that are projected to happen. Think about this in an architectural sense. Think about the project you're presenting and you're talking about roads that are going to get rerouted and sites that are going to get replaced and all of these things. So in a way, post-production is almost like using the skills that you have learned in information graphics, right? Hope you guys don't forget about those information graphic assignments that you did first, right? But think about information graphics when you need to talk about where you need to communicate something using graphical methods, right? So post-production kind of lives a little bit in that world. Let me kind of skip forward here a bit. So for example, in this case where a lot of things had to be communicated, like, you know, what's going to happen when the wharf expands? It's going to be dug deeper. Things need to be labeled. You know, you have different phases with different things happening. So yes, the production persons would produce this video, but a lot of the overlays, the text overlays and graphical highlights that you see here, these were actually done in post, meaning they were layered on top of the videos that were produced. So post-production persons, that's what they do. They post means after, so they layer additional information or graphics on top of whatever footage is produced. Now, sometimes it might be simple things like a title or a lower third, but other times it can be complex things like, you know, look at how it has this 3D text kind of label this road and it highlights a particular road and all that stuff. All of these things are things that are done from a post-production point of view. All right, do you guys understand that point?
Yes, sir.
So post-production primarily involves the organizing the asset files, organizing footage and a timeline according to the storyboard, basically. Editing still images, so it might involve a bit of photography, acquiring footage. So you might need to capture a particular footage. Think about your design studio presentation that you're going to make, right? If you are doing an animation and you want to talk about a particular area on your site, you need to show a footage or a picture or something. You need to go out and grab that raw image, right? Applying post-production effects, like you might see a video and the video turns blue, or the video is orange to give it a warm feel, or blue to give it a cold feel. Those kind of effects and color correction, all that stuff is done in post-production. So post-production normally use software like image editing and video editing and sound editing, right? So if you are good with that kind of stuff, especially with audio, right? Audio is so important to get your point across. You know, watching that architectural film without audio would just be like, ugh. You understand? So Okay, right. I think it was this one. Right. I wanted to show you guys this advert.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to
All right. Who wants one?
Come on.
Inato, sir. Inato wants one, sir.
I don't know. If I'm still showing this video long after Surface has turned something old, I'm wondering if it's still strong enough to make you want one, right? So that video, there's a whole lot of very subtle things that's wrapped up in that video. And usually what I do, I usually spend a little class and kind of go through it, especially for those that have a real feel for post-production stuff. Little things, for example, even at this part here, I normally put this in a video editor and kind of go through it to show you some tips. But like even this little part here, when it kind of talks about the screen and it goes,
and you'll see into your imagination.
so it has that very subtle exploding feel, but then it's exploding with color to show you the vibrance on the screen. So that's like a sound effect that's added to the song, but in combination with what you're seeing on screen is like those little things are what does kind of tugs, I call it tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. And in turn, that gets you excited about the product. It's almost like a psychological thing. So
the explosion wasn't like a bang. It was like a like a low bass or subwoofer bass.
Right.
You feel like you feel it within there.
Exactly. And then you have little things like listen to the song when it does one of the things that this thing is known for, right? So for example, look at this part here. So you hear how the music just kind of sounds there when I push down the screen. Like that timing is perfectly timed so that you say, oh my gosh, look at the screen. It can be adjusted. But then the music is also amplifying that as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here.
So I could also say a woman's touch.
Exactly. There is so much overlay of different things. And another layer that we don't really go into in architecture is the whole psychology of marketing and promotion. I mean, this is like a whole field in itself, you know. So when you say something like a woman's touch, it's like you're gone into now the psychology of marketing. And, you know, the firms that does this kind of things, that makes advertisements for Nike and Adidas and all these brands, you know, that's like a major part of what they do. We don't need to necessarily go that deep, but most of the things that you're seeing here are as a result of good post-production, especially the music and sound effect compared to what you're seeing. So for example, pre-production might say, okay, look, when they go through this door, it must feel like, wow. How do you achieve that? Well, the production people, they're going to make the camera go through the door. So that takes care of that. But the wow effect, how do you capture the wow effect? Well, the post-production person might say, you know what, we're going to have like a sound effect there or something, right? So they're like the emotion engine of the movie. They help to exaggerate what is supposed to be felt, right? So that is the production team. Now, kind of zoom out a bit here. So they're also responsible for things like continuity editing, right? And this is an interesting thing. It's a term that's normally used in the movie industry. It turns out that it's very applicable to architecture as well. A building, I don't know if you've ever gone in a building for the first time and the building is confused and you're trying to figure, okay, hold on, did I go left or right? So a building can be complex, but imagine showing a video of that building. The traditional walkthrough that we used to do, you know, go through this door, then go left, then go right. I mean, you just totally get confused. So continuity editing is something that the movie industry has been doing for a long time. And it's basically a way of editing footage so that the person who is viewing the footage is not confused. They're not mixed up. You might be watching a sitcom and the person in the sitcom says, hey, honey, we're going to the doctor tomorrow. And then it cuts and then there's a picture of the doctor's office. And then it cuts and then there's a picture of them walking through the door in the doctor's office. You know, like that sequence of events follows each other and the viewer can pick it up instantly. So it is continually, it promotes the continuity of a logical coherence between shots, right? So at the end of the day, a post-production team might end up with 100 shots, different pictures, videos, but they might only end up using 50 because in order to logically show how the film is made, they might not end up using all the shots, right? So these are some of the, I think of it as the elements of continuity and editing. So things like establishing shot, the 180-degree rule, and things like that, which we might go into another time. But these are rules that the person who is doing the post-production would follow so as to not confuse your audience. Because I'm telling you, a lot of the movies that come out from some of the groups over the past years, some of them are confusing. When you watch the storyboard, you get it. The vision is painted. But when you see the final movie, something about it confuses the audience. You know, and it might be something kind of simple. It might be you show something on screen, but it's not long enough so the audience don't understand what you're trying to say. You know, little things like that. So post-production is responsible for that. Now, we might dive a little bit deeper into this another time.
The line of action is an imaginary straight line that is drawn between a subject and an item or...
And I want to leave it here because I want you to have these three roles kind of in the back of your mind and kind of think on it a bit and think what role best work with me. because you guys need to know that this week, because you're going to be going into groups by latest next week. Next week, Monday is the date that we want to do that group thing. Everybody has to be here. If you're not here, you'll be placed in a group automatically. But you basically have 1 week to kind of think about the role and where you're falling. And we'll explore it a little bit more on Wednesday.
So, sir, we are placing ourselves in groups.
Yes.
Yeah, considering these three
roles.
Roles, yeah.
That's correct. That's
correct. Groups of how much and how much persons per group?
Yes, sir.
Well, the details of it we will work out, but usually it's around 6 to 8. It's usually not less than 6.
Okay, so 6 for pre-production, 6 for production, 6 for post-production.
No. 2.
Or, okay.
Right. That's the ideal scenario, but some people might end up, depending on how things work out. Right. Now, remember, all of the tasks that we have been doing, you can look within yourself and know what you're good at. For example, some persons who needed to come up with creative things for their assignment too, maybe they came up with a great idea, but then when they execute it, they didn't know the program and whatever. So there might be an idea person. There might be persons that are good with conveying what is in their head. Those are persons that's good for pre-production. You might have persons that are just good with manipulating the software, have a lot of assets, stuff like that. That's good for production. And then the persons that good with polishing, Some of us spend a lot of time in Photoshop just to let the final visualization just look, nice and polished, or it might be a video, letting the music kind of drive what you're presenting. The things like that is post-production, right? Now, there are other little things to it that we're going to discuss more when we look at the final project. But I'm just kind of planting the seed so you know how this thing works. And remember to think wide. It's not just about the assignment that you're doing. This is how stuff is done in the real world. And a lot of times, like I might see persons who work at a firm and they totally forgot about what they learned in AC2. And maybe they have to do a presentation for a design for that firm and they forgot about, pre-production. They just jump and start to work and do it and not say, hold on a minute. I need to have somebody, who's doing the pre-production. Am I doing everything? Okay, if I'm doing everything, let me make sure to segment my thoughts so that pre-production thoughts are here, production thoughts are here, post-production thoughts are here. Right? It is a way of organizing yourself when producing visualizations. Okay, guys? So that was our little talk about the production pipeline. And you have an idea of how you will be, the roles that you will be meant to play. So that's pretty much it for this week. So it for today. So on Wednesday, we're going to I think I can spend a little time to catch up on, I didn't get any time to work through assignment 4 with you. So maybe we can spend a little time Wednesday to do that. But next week we'll definitely be choosing teams and we'll be going into storyboards and all that stuff. All right.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
All right. So that is pretty much it for class today. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Stay safe.
Same to you, sir.
You too, sir.
All right.